Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County, and happy Aloha Friday, as I certainly like to celebrate each Friday morning. And so today at PSG of Mercer County, we are a group that are here to service you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition. We have a lot of resources and information that we provide to anyone who's in job search, and it's all to help you become more efficient and more effective in your own job search. And in addition to Aloha Friday, John may want to cover his ears for a moment, but if there are any Met fans out there, this day in history, 1986, the New York Mets clinched the National League East by a win over the Chicago Cubs. And the reason why John has to cover his ears is because he's a Red Sox fan, and a few weeks later, the Mets beat the Red Sox in the World Series. So if you're a Mets fan in 1986, this is the anniversary of the Mets clinching the 1986 East Championship. They later beat the Houston Astros for the National League pennant, and then the Boston Red Sox, that team up north, for the World Series. So a little bit of history for today.
Almost as bad as the Giants last night.
Oh, I didn't see it. And John, you'll also be unhappy to know that behind my sheet here, I actually have a signed picture by Billy Buckner and Mookie Wilson of the last play of Game 6. So sorry about it. But I covered it up. I knew you would be on the call.
Thank you.
Of course, telling you doesn't ease your pain anymore. So we do have plenty of resources. PSG of Mercer County certainly has plenty of resources to help make you more efficient and effective in your job search. One of the things that we do have is our LinkedIn group. If you are not yet a member of our LinkedIn group, we invite you to do so. We get a few new members each week, and so our group is getting a little bit larger. We now have over 1,690 members, so it's a pretty good sized group. So if you are not yet connected to our group, one benefit of joining any group, of course, is the group members become virtually first-degree connections to you. They're not officially first-degree connections, but as you do your job search, as you do your research, if there's anybody you need to reach out to on LinkedIn, and you find that the connection is someone in our group, certainly reach out. You can do so within the group membership, to connect to them directly and contact them directly. And so that's one big help. So you can increase your group by at least 1,690 plus people. And there's also a good chance that that person will contact you. No guarantee that they will, but a good chance. And the reason why all of those people are job hunters, or have been job hunters, or have been through our program, have visited us at least one time. And so there's a good chance that they really understand the importance of maintaining connections and providing assistance to each other. And what you can do as a member of the group also, in addition to reaching out to people, share articles, share job leads. So if you get something of interest that you'd like to share with someone, and every once in a while, probably a couple times a week, people send me stuff to share with other people. And I'm not able to really actively share that with all of our members, but I do write back, encourage, just post that in our LinkedIn group. It's good for them because they get that information. It's good for you because you're active on LinkedIn, which is always very important. So that's our LinkedIn group. Please look for it. It is called PSG of Mercer County. It is called PSG of Mercer County. When you press the join button, you'll be put in pending status, because I will confirm anyone who requests has been a member of our group. You are either in our mailing list, or I'll reach out and I'll ask you your interest in the group. So every once in a while, there are people that try to connect, and they're clearly just collecting names, and that's what we're trying to do, is keep the name collectors out. In addition to our LinkedIn group, we do have our website. The web address is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It is more than just a landing page. In total, it is over 120 pages of web content. There's a lot of information out there. We happen to have a lot of links, a lot of connections to other services and websites. If you look at our resources tab, the resources tab is right along the top. And so in there, we have 44 resources. They're icons, and they turn into links to 15 networking groups, not as robust as the landing expert list that Alex maintains, but groups that are kind of near and dear to our heart. There are 27 other career resources, including state agencies, counties, and other resources as well. And there's even a link to a personal wellness website. So if there's any wellness issues that you want to address, at least online, there's even a mental health link as well. Not that we're specifically endorsing it, but they do offer some content and information. COVID has created trying times for us personally and for some people mentally, and we wanted to put some of those links out there as well. So go take a look, see if there's any links of information, especially the career coaches and resources that are there. And with Ford's permission, I'd be happy to put your link on our website as well. I see.
Yes.
Terrific. Okay, so by next week, we will have 45 resources, so that'll be terrific. So letting you know the logistics of this morning's meeting, Ford can share his slide deck. I've made you presenter, so as soon as you want, you're able to do so. And he will be going through the slides. Ford's presentation style, he's going to go through the presentation almost entirely and then take your questions at the end. So do queue up your questions using chat. You're certainly welcome to do so. The way we like to use chat, so chat, if you're new to this platform, the GoToMeeting platform, in the upper right corner, there are a couple of icons. One is looks like two people with the number 41. That's how many people are on this call right now. Right next to that is a little circle with a tab, looks like a comic book kind of speaking thing, and that's exactly what it is. It's called a call out, and that's chat. So you click that, and the chat window will open on your screen. And in there, you can do one of two things to get our attention. You can write the word question, and then when Ford does ask for questions, we'll call on you, and we'll call on questioners as the order in which we receive. Or you can type the word question and type your question, and in which case I'll read it out loud on your behalf. But if you just type the word question, it's like digitally raising your hand, and then I could just call on you to unmute for those few moments and speak with Ford directly. So those are the two options. Type the word question and you'll be asking your question directly, or type the word question followed by the question and I'll read it on your behalf. The reason why we do that question thing is because a lot of people do use the chat for introducing themselves and posting contact information, which is fine. And it does allow me to see the questions stand out among all the other comments and chats. So I will do my best to not miss your question. And so, but just ask, please keep your microphone on mute until you are called on, just again to eliminate any background noise. But until we get to the Q&A portion, I am very pleased to welcome our presenter this morning, Ford Myers. Ford Myers is an award-winning career coach, and he's president of Career Potential LLC. He is author of the best-selling Get the Job You Want Even When No One Is Hiring. Ford's firm helps clients take charge of their careers, create the work they love, and earn what they deserve. He has held senior consulting positions at 3 of the nation's largest career services firms. Ford's articles have appeared in thousands of publications and websites, and he's been interviewed on every major television station and radio network. Ford has also conducted presentations at hundreds of companies, associations, and universities. You can learn more at his website, www.careerpotential.com. www.careerpotential.com. PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome award-winning coach and author Ford Myers.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that nice introduction. It's nice to be here with all of you and to meet all of you virtually. Good to see some familiar faces like David and Alex. So welcome to today's presentation. Today's presentation is called 10 Vital Strategies to Maximize Your Career Success. There's a subtitle also, which I often use for this presentation, and the subtitle is Back to Basics for Better Results. Back to Basics for Better Results. And I think that as we proceed through this presentation, you'll understand what I mean when I say that subtitle. As David said, please hold your questions till the end. I'm going to ask that David will moderate the questions and pose the questions to me at the end when we get to the Q&A section. So let me just start by saying that I think you'll agree that the goal for all of us is to ensure that you'll be fully employed more of the time and unemployed or underemployed much less of the time. I mean, that sounds very basic, but I think you'll agree that that is, for most of us, the goal. And over the years of working in career coaching, which is now almost 30 years, I have definitely seen patterns or themes that have emerged. And when you've been doing this for a long time, it's not that hard to see what those themes are. And I'm going to reveal to you today what are the 10 major themes or trends that I see in the people who are most successful in managing their careers and landing jobs successfully whenever they need to. In other words, success leaves clues. If you follow those clues and if you model the behavior of these most successful job seekers and career managers, then the chances are very high that you will also be able to replicate the same kind of success. So in my world, it's not that complicated. You look at what works and you do that. You observe what doesn't work and you don't do that. Then you'll have the same kind of success that these other people have had, all other things being equal. Now, some of the concepts I'm going to present to you today may seem simplistic. You'll say, oh yeah, I knew that. Or I don't need a career coach to tell me that. That's pretty obvious. Yes, if you look at any one specific item out of the 10 strategies, you may say that. But you see, you're missing the point though, because the magic, okay, the magic is in the combination or the blending of all of these strategies and using them concurrently, all right, as a system. It's blending them into a process, a system that you can replicate and use very, very successfully. So don't look at each individual strategy. Instead, look at it in totality. Look at this as a unified system that works extremely well when all the strategies are worked together in tandem, in unison. That's where the magic occurs. Now, another point I want to make is that these strategies are so important that they're worth mentioning again and again. They're worth repeating. They're worth reminding you because some of you have forgotten some of these most basic strategies for better results. So in my experience, once again, I want you to know that it's the combination that really makes the difference. This approach will work with anyone. Some people have heard my presentations and said, oh, well, that's great for senior executives, but I'm only a mid-level guy. Or, oh, well, that's great for you because, you have your own business, but I have to go get a job. No, these are just excuses because the strategies I'm going to go through with you today are effective and work with anyone. So with that being said, let's go on to the next slide. And I want to mention something, which is this. Before every presentation that I ever do, I present this slide. No matter what the topic is, no matter what the group is, no matter where it is or the timing or the location or the industry, I always start with this slide because it is so vitally important. So let's go over it very briefly. Now, you see two circles on your screen. On the left-hand side, you see the word job, which is the big circle, and then career, which is a little tiny circle. And on the right side, you see career very large, and job is a little tiny circle or a subset of career. So the left side is sort of the old world, okay, the old way, the way it was in our parents' day or our grandparents' day, or even when we were very young and just getting started in our careers. The right side of the screen is the current world we live in now and the current reality of the work world. So in the old reality, you would focus exclusively on your job. And the thought was, well, if I just get a good job and keep that job and work there for 30 years, I can retire with a gold watch and a pat on the back, and my career will just take care of itself because it's all about the job. You know, your grandparents and parents used to say, just get a good job with a good company and stay responsible and keep your nose clean and everything will be fine. Well, that's true. It was true. You know, my own father worked for the same company for nearly 30 years. How many people do you know now who work for the same company 30 years? Not much. So the focus in the old days was get a good job, keep the job, and the career either took care of itself or the personnel department, what we now call human resources, the personnel department would take care of your career. They might give you a raise every 2 years. They might give you a promotion every couple of years if you were lucky, and you pretty much settled in to stay at that company the rest of your life. But on the right-hand side, we have a very different reality. The focus now is on career. Career, career, career. Everything is about career. People always talk about their career. You know, in the old days, there was no such thing as a career unless you were a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist, maybe an architect. Nobody had careers. People had jobs. But in today's reality, everybody has a career. Person flipping burgers at McDonald's, they have a career. Everybody's got a career. And so we worry now and talk a lot about our career. And oh, by the way, there's this little subset called job. Job is nothing more than a stepping stone, a way station, a temporary assignment. So we, in the new reality, need to take more responsibility. Personnel department from the old days is not going to do it for you. You have to take full responsibility to manage your career. Are jobs important? Yes, jobs are important, but they are merely stepping stones or way stations to get you to your ultimate goal, which is to manage your career and eventually reach the pinnacle of your career. So please keep this in mind. As we move on now, I want to go to the next point, which is a quiz. I've been talking at you now for about 5 minutes, and here's a quiz. Who is responsible for your career? Who runs your career? Who manages your career? Is it the human resources department? Is it your manager? Is it a recruiter maybe that you've used in the past? Is it an executive search firm? Is it someone like me or Alex? In other words, career coaches, career consultants. Is it none of the above? Yes, I can hear you all screaming the answer. It's the final answer, none of the above. The only person who's responsible for managing your career is you. And that is the new reality. It's been like that for decades, but some people are very slow to wake up and notice. So without further ado, I want to get right into the 10 vital strategies. What I'm going to do is go through them very quickly and just name them, and then we'll go into more detail explaining each one. But I want to give you the overview and give you the full list of 10. If you follow these strategies, you will maximize your career success. Now, as I said before, where did these come from? They came from years and years and years of working with clients, observing what works and what doesn't, and really sort of boiling it down, distilling it to the key elements that really make people successful. So the very first strategy is, keep all your career documents up to date. I can't tell you how many new clients I start working with, and I say, well, let's take a look at your documents. And they go, my what? I say, well, don't you have a resume? Don't you have a list of contacts? Don't you have maybe a positioning statement or one-page biography or a list of companies you're interested in? No, nothing, zero. The last time they had a resume was when they were 18 and got a job at McDonald's. I mean, this is insane, right? So it's essential to keep all your career documents up to date at all times. We'll go into that more a little bit later. Strategy number 2 is make time for networking. Networking is the lifeblood of any successful career, right? No networking, no career. So I always say that networking is to career as breathing is to life, which means if you stop breathing, you die. If you stop networking, your career dies. It's that simple. I will go into more detail in a moment, but strategy number 2 is make time for networking. Strategy number 3, take leadership roles in associations and organizations. In other words, don't just join something, pay your $50 and then sit at the back of the room or never come to any event or never get involved doing anything. That's ridiculous. Instead, step up, get to the front of the room, get involved, get on their website, get in their newsletter, raise your visibility and your credibility, show that you're a leader. There are many reasons why you want to do this. So get involved, get active, and get involved. Get involved in leadership is what I mean. Don't just be a follower, be a leader. Strategy number 4, write articles and do presentations. Now, I can already hear people saying, oh no, I hate public speaking. I can't do public speaking. It makes me nervous. Or I'm a lousy writer. I can't write very well. Excuses, excuses, excuses. That's all this is. Look, if you can get through high school or even college, then you can string 2 words together and you can write a short article of 3, 4, 5 paragraphs maybe. I have no doubt of that. If you've ever done any kind of business, been in any kind of job, then you've probably had to present something here and there or run a meeting or something. So don't tell me that you've never done any kind of presenting. Yes, you may need to polish up your skills. Yes, you may need to get some help or support, but everybody can do a little bit of writing and a little bit of presenting. Why is this important? Because it distinguishes you as an expert and thought leader, and that's critically important in today's world. Companies have plenty of applicants. They don't need applicants. What they need is thought leaders and experts to take the company to the next level of success. Now, strategy number 5, continue your professional development. Look, your education didn't stop when you finished high school or college. You have to keep learning. You have to keep growing. Nobody wants to hire a candidate whose intellectual capital is stale. They want people who are current, who are thriving in the latest trends of today's world. People who are on the cutting edge, people who understand what's going on. So don't rest on your laurels from 30 years ago or 20 years ago. Always be involved in professional development, learning, training, certification, education, seminars, conferences, workshops, whatever. Now, it's great that you're all on today's program because that shows that you have at least a passing interest in professional development. Stick with it. Never, never, never stop learning. Strategy number 6 is research and be aware of the competition. And by competition, I mean 2 different kinds of competition. Number 1, the other candidates who you're competing with to get jobs. Who are they? What are their qualifications? How do you stack up against them? That's very important information. Got to know the competition. The other kind of competition I'm talking about are other companies or organizations that compete with your company. If you are working currently or you just left the job, it's up to you to know who are the other players in that niche, in that industry. How are they better? How are they worse? Are they bigger, smaller, smarter, faster? What are their products and services? Who runs those companies? What's their track record? What does their public relations say? What do their press releases say? What's their history? What's their culture? What's their background? Do not live in your little silo. Don't close yourself off in a little box. You're not an employee of your company. You're an employee of the world. You're an employee of your industry. You must know your competition. Number 7, offer to help people in your network, even if they're not in a position to help you at the present time. This is not about, oh, if you help me, then maybe I'll help you. This is not quid pro quo. This is, I'm a generous person, I help, I come from generosity, I'm always being of service, I'm a servant leader. You've heard these things before. Always offer to help people. Don't wait to be asked. Initiate. Take the first step. Stick your neck out a little bit. That's very, very important. Strategy number 8 is look for new jobs and investigate other opportunities. Always, no matter what your career situation is. If you have a great job that you love, your boss is fantastic, the company is amazing, they've told you what a wonderful future you have there, I don't care. You still need to be looking for new jobs and investigating other opportunities always. Some people say, well, that's disloyal. Oh, yeah? Well, you know what? You could go in tomorrow morning and have a pink slip on your desk that says you're being let go. Who's disloyal? So, yeah, you need to always hope for the best, but you need to be prepared for the worst. Always be looking for new jobs and new opportunities. Go on interviews on a regular basis, even if you have a good job currently. Do not get stuck in your silo and get career complacent. That's right, career complacent. It's like a disease. It's a terrible affliction. Hope you never catch it. Strategy number 9, always ask yourself, how can I contribute more to my company, to my boss? How can I make a bigger difference, make a larger impact? So in other words, don't get complacent and sit in the corner doing your job day in and day out and collecting your paycheck and hoping that they don't make you do anything else. Instead, step up. Be the one that puts their hand up and volunteers for the plum assignments. Some people always say to me, more? Are you crazy? Ford, I am already up to my eyeballs. I'm working so hard I can't see straight. Well, you know what? Then there's something wrong. You're chasing your tail. You're not delegating. You're not managing your time very well. You're not setting clear boundaries and saying no when it's appropriate. I get a lot of pushback on this one, but I always manage to turn them around and show them how to handle this much better. So strategy number 10 is practice your interviewing, negotiating, and related skills always, consistently, no matter what your career situation is. Again, that term called career complacent. If you're complacent, then you're not going to be interviewing and negotiating and practicing your related skills. So I'm not talking to the people who are career complacent. I'm talking to the people who are ambitious, professional, and have goals that they want to reach. You're never going to reach those goals if you don't polish up these skills and reach your career potential. Now, before we move on, I want to repeat something. These 10 strategies are like magic, like gold, like platinum. I just gave you the keys to the kingdom. When you use these synergistically as a comprehensive system, they will generate amazing results for you. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about each one of the strategies in a little bit more depth. So number 1, as I said, is keep all your career documents up to date. Now look at this funny graphic on your screen. On the left-hand side, you have a wrench, which is a tool. On your right-hand side, you have all kinds of tools. This is a toolkit, you could say, on the right-hand side. Now, the left side of this diagram represents what? Exactly, it represents the resume. And on the right-hand side, it represents all the other tools, documents, forms, things that you need in your career portfolio in order to manage your career and market yourself effectively. I would say that 9 out of 10 people I meet, they go, oh yeah, I have a resume, that's all I need. Resume's good, I just had it redone. Or, I'm so proud of myself because I just updated my resume last year. Okay, so what? What about all the other stuff? What other stuff? Well, when I work with my clients, we have somewhere between 8 and 12 distinct career tools, different documents that are used for different purposes at different times with different people. So you need to become an expert, like a master carpenter, right? A master carpenter knows exactly what tool to use for every job to make it quick and efficient and productive, to make it look right, to make it strong. That's why they're called a master carpenter. It's not because they have bigger muscles, it's because they're smarter in the way they work. And you need to become like the master carpenter, only in this case, it's the master career manager and master job seeker. I could tell you story after story after story about people whose careers were stuck because they were relying exclusively on their resume. Once they developed their full career toolkit, not only did they have all the right tools, but their entire mindset shifted. The way they think changed. They became so much more effective. So trust me when I tell you, don't use your cornerstone, don't use your resume purely as the cornerstone of your career. You really need the complete toolkit and know how to use these tools very, very effectively. So what are these career documents and tools? Well, here's just some of them, or most of them, I suppose. I can't go into much detail. I have separate seminars on virtually every single one of these distinct items. But let me just tell you that they include your accomplishment stories. You need at least 7 to 10 great accomplishment stories that highlight and prove your skills and your strengths. You need a positioning and a departure statement. The positioning statement answers the question, tell me about yourself, or who are you and why should I care? The departure statement answers the question, why are you out of work? Why are you looking for a job? Why are you looking to make a change? Why were you let go? In other words, what were the circumstances under which you departed your last position? The third item is a professional biography, which is a one-page overview or a narrative in paragraph form about your background. Another related item is called a career profile, which is somewhat similar to the biography, but it's used in a different setting. Both of these are not resume. Both of them serve a different purpose than the resume. They are used professionally for networking, and they are soft sell documents, whereas the resume is a very hard sell document. The target company list is a list that you keep of industries or sectors that you are interested in, and furthermore, it includes the companies that you have researched and identified as the best of breed, okay? These are the companies that you would most like to work for if you were to land at a new company. Smart people have a target list that is ongoing. It's always updated. Every year it shifts and changes. Continuous research, continuous exploration and conversation so that your list is always up to date. When you go networking and have formal networking meetings with people, this is one of the primary tools you will bring with you and use is your target company list. It should have between 35 and 50 companies on it, and it should have between 4 and 8 distinct categories. Now, by the way, the professional biography is one of the other primary tools you'll be using in your one-on-one networking meetings. Contact list is pretty obvious. This is a list of everyone in the world who knows your name. It's not just people who are in your field or people who are in a position to hire you. It's everyone. Next door neighbor, college roommate, dry cleaner, dentist, I could go on and on and on. If you call them up and tell them your name, do they recognize your name? Then they belong on your list. I don't care if they like you. I don't care if you haven't seen them in 20 years. I don't care if they live halfway around the world. As long as they know your name, they belong on this list. The professional references list is pretty obvious. Employers may want to call you references, so you have to have a good list of references. It includes their name, company, title, address, phone number, email, but it also includes how you know them. What is the connection? Otherwise, it could be your mother. I don't know who this person is. So you have to say how you know them, where you met them, and what is your relationship professionally. Letters of recommendation. Yes, even at the executive level or the professional level, letters of recommendation can be extremely powerful. Because look, If you and I are going after the same job, we both have equal credentials, except that I have 5 fantastic letters of recommendation and you don't, well, guess who's going to get the job? I will. So you want to use every tool you can, every weapon in your arsenal. You need letters of recommendation if you're out there competing for new opportunities. I also have my clients develop testimonial comments, a page or 2 of little endorsements, 1-paragraph endorsements. These can be excerpted from your letters of recommendation. These could be copied and pasted from the recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. These can come from performance reviews in the past, emails, letters, you name it. But you've got to have these. Why? Because they differentiate you. They're very powerful, and they're a great tool to close the deal and get the final offer. Other people don't have them. You have them. You'll close the deal and get the offer. Networking agenda and script. Well, I believe that you can't just wing it. You can't just improvise. When you're networking, you need to have a protocol, a structure, a system, and a script. If I say to you, oh, David, there's this great guy I know. His name is Frank, and Frank is a leader in your field. I'll call him up and I'll tell him that I want him to talk to you. He can really help you. He knows a lot of people. He's very smart. He knows the industry, and you guys should really connect. So here's his name and number. David, I want you to call Frank in a couple days. Okay, great. So David's about to pick up the phone and call Frank. Well, what the hell is he going to say? He needs a script. He can't wing it. He can't improvise. He can't say, Frank, Ford told me to call you. That's not going to go very far. You need a whole protocol, structure, script, a system to follow. So that's what we do with our clients, and that's what you need too. A very polished script and a whole agenda that you'll take them through in the actual networking meeting. You'll need a LinkedIn profile, obviously. You can't avoid it. It's not a fad anymore. It's huge. It's giant. Every recruiter and employer is going to look online to do a little research on you if they have any interest in you at all. They will Google you. They will go on LinkedIn. They want to see what they find there. Here's what you don't want. You don't want to find nothing but tumbleweeds and cobwebs. You don't want them to find tumbleweeds and cobwebs. You don't want a big black hole, a big blank. What you want is a consistent, positive, robust, compelling message about you. It needs to be very fleshed out, very full, very thorough. It needs to represent the greatest and most positive image of you possible. I'm working with a guy right now who is a very senior guy, very accomplished, very smart, has a job currently, but wants to make a change. The minute I heard from him, I went on his LinkedIn profile. What did I find? He has 3 contacts, his name, his last employer, that's it. That's it. And he's wondering why nobody ever calls him. Strange, huh? You will need, or at least it's optional, to have a personal website. It's really optional. Some people have one. It highlights who they are, tells you about their background. Professional, I mean, it's all professional. It can even have multiple pages which highlight all of these tools. So some clients have it, some clients don't. There are other high-tech tools right now which kind of give you an out-of-the-box personal website that you can set up. There's one called Win the View. There used to be one called Visual CV, which I think went under. But there are many of these tools. Or you could just create one of your own by using one of these off-the-shelf website creation programs. You will need a tracking and organizing system. Anyone who's been in sales knows that you can't keep all this in your head. You can't keep it on scraps of paper. You need a very robust tracking and organizing system. Sure, if you're only calling 3 people in your whole search, you can remember who they are and what they said. But after you get past 3 or 5 people, you're going to forget. So you need a very thorough, comprehensive tracking, organizing system so you know what you're doing, who you're talking to, what did they say, what are the next steps, how did you meet them in the first place, and on and on and on. In sales, they call this a sales contact management program. Some people call it a CRM, customer relationship management. Okay, whatever you call it. But the point is, you need it. You can't just keep this all in your head, and you can't keep it on scraps of paper. Now, there's this other thing that you might have heard of. Maybe it's called a resume. So it is vitally important. Yes, it has to be great. It can't be just okay or fair. It has to be excellent, has to be outstanding. If your resume is not exceptional, then it needs work. Simple as that. It's last on the list. You know why it's last on the list? Because number one, I want to de-emphasize it because people use it too much and they rely on it too heavily. The other reason is because 80–90% of good jobs are found through networking. Resume isn't used in networking. So let's see, 80–90% jobs gotten through networking. That means 80–90% of my time is going to be spent on networking. That means I'm never going to use the resume except maybe like 10–20% of the time. That's correct. So the resume is an ironic little tool. It has to be great, fantastic, but you're hardly ever going to use it. When are you going to use a resume? When you're talking to a recruiter, because that's the only language they understand. Number two, if you're applying for jobs online, God forbid. And number three, if you go to a job fair or something like that where the employer wants to see your resume. And number four, if you go to an interview and the interviewer says, oh, do you have an extra copy of your resume for me? So in other words, the resume is only used when there is a specific, real job opening that you want to go after. But 90% of the time when you're doing networking, you will not use a resume because a resume is not the appropriate tool for networking. So this is your self-marketing portfolio. As I said before, you need to use the right tool at the right time with the right person for the right purpose. Try to say that 10 times fast. By the way, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a free bonus offer, no strings, no catch, and you'll be able to get samples of all these tools and templates. Because I'm such a nice guy, you're going to get it for free, no strings attached. So strategy number 2 is make time for networking. Obviously, this is one of the keys to effectively build and maintain a strong and varied network. You must learn to cultivate this skill. Your professional network is your most valuable career asset. That's right. More important than your education, more important than your resume, more important than your work history. That's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? I know, it makes some people crazy. But I can prove it to you. 30 years of experience, I can prove that a person who has a strong and robust network will outpace anybody, no matter what their education is, no matter how their resume looks, or no matter what their professional work history is. So, very, very, very important. This is where important people, busy people say to me, Ford, you don't understand. I'm busy. I don't have time for networking. Well, of course not. Nobody has time for networking, but successful people make time for networking. It is a priority. Let's say tomorrow you got a brand new job. Congratulations. You love the job. You're so happy. After 6 months of looking and searching, you found the job of your dreams. Great. First week of that job, I say, take out your calendar, block out time for networking. What? What are you talking about? I told you, I just got a job. It's a great job. I'm not going anywhere. Take out your calendar, block out time for networking. Next week, the week after, the week after. Get it? Never stops. always, no matter what your career situation is. What are some networking goals? Well, these are some basic goals for networking. You can review this screen. You're going to schedule face-to-face meetings with centers of influence, phone calls with others. Now, by face-to-face in today's COVID world, that most likely means on Zoom, but perhaps in person. You want to have a clear agenda. As I said before, you need to direct the meeting. It's not their meeting, it's your meeting. You want to get at least 3 to 5 names from each person with whom you meet so that you can continue expanding your network. You want to leverage social media, networking websites. You want to attend select networking functions and business events, whether it's real or virtual. You want to make this meeting the start of an ongoing dialogue. In other words, it's not once and done. When you establish a networking relationship, that's the beginning of a beautiful relationship. It's not something that is going to end after the first meeting, whether they helped you or not, by the way. Now, there are 3 criteria which must be met for a networking meeting to be successful. Number 1, you need to get information and guidance and input and advice and feedback from that person. You need to listen with an open mind and write down what they say and take their comments seriously. Number 2, you need to get names, contacts, referrals, introductions. And number 3 is the one that everybody overlooks. The other person must get as much value out of the meeting that you did. They have to be just as glad they attended the networking meeting as you are. It's your job to make sure that the other person doesn't feel bad or resentful that they came to this one-on-one networking meeting. They have to leave with a smile on their face saying, I'm so glad I went to this meeting. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed that conversation. In fact, I learned a few things. Or I got some help from the other person. See, it has to be 50-50. Networking is not about taking. Networking is more about giving. Very, very important that you follow this instruction. You know what? There are 3 essential steps to the networking process. And this is really, really boiling it down to the bare essentials. There is the ask, then there's the do, then there's the follow-up. What's the ask? Well, remember the example I said earlier? I tell David, there's this great guy you got to talk to. He's a genius. His name is Frank. I want you to contact him. Okay, that's the ask. So David calls up Frank, or emails him perhaps, and asks to have a networking meeting. In other words, that isn't the networking meeting. That's the request for the networking meeting. That's step number 1. And David will use a full, proven script, process, a protocol, which works extremely well. And he'll get the other person, Frank, to say, yes, I'll be happy to network with you. The do, number 2, is the actual scheduled networking one-on-one meeting. Could be on the phone, could be in person, could be over Zoom. And David will follow a specific agenda. He will direct the meeting, manage the meeting, and follow the agenda. The step number 3 is the follow-up. After the networking meeting is over, is that the end of the story? No. As I said before, that's the beginning of the relationship. So David will follow up. Thank you letter or email, ongoing conversation, keeping Frank apprised of his progress, telling Frank how the conversations went with the people Frank referred him to. Get it? So there's 3 distinct steps. These are the steps. Let's move on. Couple networking tips. Keep your first conversation very brief. You know, the ask is just a 5-minute conversation. So-and-so referred me to you. I'm really interested in you. I'd love to talk to you. Would you be here? Go through the script. It's only 5 minutes. They're either going to say yes or they're going to say no. Hopefully they say yes. In my experience with my clients, about 80–85% of people say yes, which is great. When they say yes, I'll be happy to network with you, you'll say, great, I'm going to send you a confirmation email with the time and date and the location that we agreed to. I'm also going to attach an agenda for our upcoming networking meeting. And I'm also going to attach my one-page professional biography, so you'll get a better view of my background. And I'm also going to attach my target company list, so you'll get a sense of the kinds of companies and industries that I'm most interested in my search. So let me review. Email follow-up to say, thank you, here's confirmation. Attached are 3 items: professional biography, target company list, network meeting agenda. It's a great system. It actually works. You're always going to be confident and purposeful. You're always coming from a place of generosity. And whenever you have a networking meeting, you're definitely going to plan next steps, because any meeting, whether it's a networking meeting or another kind of meeting, any meeting is only as good as its planned next steps. Strategy number 3, we mentioned this before, take leadership roles in organizations and associations. This will boost your credibility and your visibility. It will show that you are an expert and thought leader and a leader in general. This is also a great opportunity to take on roles and responsibilities that maybe you never were able to do in your jobs. You know, you can expand your skills, you can try new things, because the association might want you to do some things you've never done before. So you can volunteer and do those things and learn new skills. By the way, let's say a job opening comes along in your field and it's circulating around the people you know, but it's not really a good fit for any of them. But maybe 10 of the people in that association will mention your name because they know you. You're at the front of the room. You're on the website. You're in the newsletter of this association. So if 10 people give that employer your name, well, now you have an army of people representing you, helping with your search that wouldn't have happened if you had not been involved in the association or organization in a leadership role. Fantastic. Strategy number 4, again, is write articles and do presentations focused on your area of expertise. So let me give you a news flash. Everyone is an expert. Everyone is an expert. There's not a single person on this program today who is not an expert at something. You can't tell me you've been working for 30 years in your career and you've learned nothing. You can't tell me you haven't mastered anything. But you don't take stock, you know, you don't take pride in your expertise. Most people don't. But it's very, very important that you do and have confidence and take stock in your own expertise. You're going to take that expertise and you're going to write. Well, I'm not a writer. You are now. Well, I don't have anything to say. Yes, you do. Any good career coach will know how to draw that out of you and help you write some wonderful brief articles. Then you take those articles, you post them on LinkedIn or other social media sites. You can also post them on what are called article banks or article repositories. These are websites that do nothing but curate and post articles on various topics for free. Then when people Google you or go on LinkedIn, they will see lots of material that you've produced and posted, which is exactly what you want. When it comes to speaking, you start small. If speaking makes you nervous, fine, start small. Speak to a tiny little group at your library of 3 people. Good enough. Chamber of Commerce, this group we're on today, some other career group. Everybody has skills. Everybody has something to say. Work with a coach if necessary, but you've got to get your face and your name out there. Now, let's say you do publish some articles and you do some public speaking. Well, you know what? You're still the same person you were 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago, except now the perception of you has changed, and it's all about perception. Perception is reality. If you have articles, if you have talks, they're going to think, oh, this person's a real expert. They're a real thought leader. That's what we want in our organization. As I said earlier, they got plenty of applicants. They don't need applicants. They need problem solvers. They need solution providers. They need experts. They need thought leaders. Now, you could say, well, what I have to say isn't very important. Yes, it is. And there is a never-ending hunger for content. Every website, every magazine, every publication needs content. Excuse me. They need content constantly, especially with the web. Oh my God. There's a never-ending need for content. So, step up, try something new, make it happen. Number 5, continue your professional development. We talked about this before. When is the last time you got a new credential? When's the last time you took a seminar or a workshop, learned a new skill, got a new degree? I personally, I went back to grad school in my 30s and 40s and changed industries. So get involved, keep learning. They want people whose intellectual capital is fresh and new and current. Academic classes, lectures, conferences, certifications, degrees. Continue building your resume, continue building your credentials. This is an information economy. Don't rest on your laurels. Just because you have a degree in something doesn't mean that you are current. You need to show that you're current and that you're up to date and that you're cutting edge. This will increase your value. This will make you more appealing and attractive to employers and to recruiters. I talked earlier about being aware of the competition, and I told you the 2 kinds of competition. Do you remember the 2 kinds? Yeah, that's one. That's right. Okay, good. So the first one is other companies in your field, in your niche, and the second category is other professionals who you compete against for work opportunities. Now, listen carefully, because I'm going to tell you something very important. Endeavor to know the competition better than they know themselves. Endeavor to know the competition better than they know themselves. So let's say you're in the financial services field, and let's say you work for Fidelity, but you're thinking you might want to switch, you might want to go work for Vanguard. Well, you should know more about Vanguard than the people who already work at Vanguard. That's a tall order, isn't it? Well, that's what it takes. That's what you got to do in order to be successful. This will greatly enhance your competitiveness on many levels. It will also allow you to jump on opportunities that others might not be aware of. See, the more you're aware of the competition, the more you know the business landscape, the faster you'll hear about and learn about opportunities and jump on them before other people do. If you have a great network, your network will let you know about other opportunities before anybody else. I worked with a client years ago who was in the building materials industry, building materials. He did a ton of research on my urging, and one of the things he found out was he was terribly underpaid because he researched salary. Well, with that new knowledge, he went back out into the interview world. He started interviewing again, and he was able to get 30% more than he thought he could get. With my help, he actually negotiated and got a raise up to 30% more when he switched to a new company. Why? Because he had done his homework and he knew what it should really pay. Now, that's just one kind of competitive awareness. That's just one kind. But that's just an example. Number 7 is offering to help people in your network, even if they're not in a position to help you at this time. Get into the habit of paying it forward. You need to become a sought-after resource. You need to be known as a generous soul who is always willing and able to help others. You've heard the phrase, what goes around comes around. There's an old saying in the sales industry, which is, if you help enough other people get what they want, then you will be assured of getting what you want too. I'll say it again. If you help enough other people get what they want, then you will be assured of getting what you want too. So this is not about keeping score about who helped you and who didn't. This is just about always being generous and always being helpful and taking the initiative and not waiting to be asked. So it's not about taking, it's about giving. There's a book I'd like to recommend, which some of you have already read. It's called The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver. It's basically about learning how to come from a spirit of generosity, giving before you're asked, coming from, a humble spirit, and really seeking to be of help, and the kind of rewards that can reap. So, The Go-Giver. Check it out. Okay, strategy number 8. Look for new jobs and investigate other opportunities. Always, always, always. You should be going on job interviews at least 3 or 4 times a year. What? Are you nuts? I'm busy. You're missing the point. How are you going to know how competitive you are, how you compete? How are you going to know if you're appealing? How are you going to test the marketplace if you're stuck in your silo and never going out and testing the world? It's all about preparation. If something should happen to your job, your existing knowledge of the marketplace will serve you well. If you're current, if you're out there. If something happens to your job, you won't have to wait weeks or even months learning about what other positions might exist or what industries are hiring or where there is growth in your field. In other words, if you're out there all the time, you'll already know that. You will already be in motion instead of stuck in one place. So this knowledge is very valuable when it comes time to renegotiate your current job or to get a new job. Let me repeat that. Let's say you're out there, you're interviewing, you know the marketplace, you're current, you're up to speed. Well, that helps you to be more competitive even in your current employer, because when you come up for review, you'll be able to argue for more compensation or more responsibility because you know what the market bears. Whereas if you're stuck in your little silo with blinders on, you can't leverage that kind of competitive knowledge. I hope that's clear. Number 9, always ask, how can I contribute more? See the little girl putting her hand up? I want more. Do not be the person who's cowering in the corner and hiding and hoping to God that they don't give you more responsibility. That's a very passive and weak approach. Instead, you want to be the go-to person, the get-it-done person. You want to be the first person the boss thinks of whenever a special assignment comes up, or whenever the boss is in trouble and gets overwhelmed, has too much to do. You want to be the first person that he thinks of or she thinks of. This will help you in immeasurable ways. Doing your job and doing it well is not enough. Just doing your job is not good enough, not in today's world. The workplace is too competitive. You need to distinguish yourself as a leader. Step up, grab every opportunity you get. Step forward, volunteer for more work. Essentially, you're really interested in the high profile projects, the plum assignments, high visibility opportunities, because then when it comes time for raises and promotions, you will be the one they go to. You'll be the one that gets raised and promoted. Establish your reputation as the go-to person, the get-it-done person, the one who can be always counted on, the one who always rises to the occasion and gets the job done. Now, you're thinking, but what about all my other work? I'm so busy already. We talked before about delegation, about managing your time, about setting clear boundaries. Now, that's a whole other conversation of coaching, but I think you get the basic idea. So number 10 is practice your interviewing, negotiating, and related skills all the time. See these guys practicing their swing? Well, Same with you. You want to always be prepared and poised for change. Things could change in a moment's notice. Always be ready for change. Who wants to spend months and months ramping up and getting ready if you lose your job tomorrow? That's ridiculous. You want to be ready to hit the ground running. Don't wait until a career crisis arises to polish up your job search skills and your career management skills. You never know what's going to happen. Start practicing with a friend, with flashcards, with a coach, with a recording device, practice in the mirror, whatever. But you need to be high level of confidence. You need to have current skills that are ready for the marketplace at any time. Otherwise, you'll be wasting time and you'll be stuck in the mud when it's time to move forward in your career. As for interviewing skills, let's just boil it down to something very simple. An interview is basically storytelling. See, they're telling the kid a little story here. You're telling the employer the story about you, your background, your qualifications, your attributes, your contributions. And the employer is telling you about their company, how they fit into the marketplace, what makes them great, what is their culture, what's their reputation, what's their quality of their product, why you should come work there, and all that great stuff. So you're telling them your story, they're telling you their story, and the idea is to find a meeting, a connection. If there's a good match, then you get yourself a job offer. If it's not a good match, then you don't get a good offer. And by the way you are going to convey your stories is through your accomplishment stories. Remember, I said earlier that you'll need at least 7 to 10 very good, compelling accomplishment stories that prove or give evidence of your skill, strength, and contributions in your work life. Well, that is the tool we use to tell your stories. So it starts with great accomplishment stories. It starts with listening. You're trying to find a match, but you've got to be up to speed, ready to go at any time. Start now. And when it comes to negotiation, everybody complains they want to make more money. They don't make enough money. I wish I could make more money. Well, here's a news flash. Contribute more and practice more, and you'll be able to negotiate for more. See, you don't get more money just because you want it. You get more money because you've earned it and you deserve it and you've negotiated for it. The most money does not go to the most qualified. The most money goes to the best negotiator. So you need to practice these negotiation skills and really get good at it. It's very funny how many people have no trouble negotiating for the price of a car or a house or a refrigerator, but when it comes time to negotiate for themselves, their own compensation, they freeze. Now, this is a longer conversation, right? It has to do with your personal psychology. It has to do with self-esteem and your internal money story. That's a whole other coaching conversation. But just be aware that you can change that story and you can change your outcomes. It's vitally important that you practice these negotiation skills and get really, really good at this game. And it is a game. It's a game that has rules. It's a game that has guidelines. And just like any other game, if you're practiced and polished, you'll do really well. If you don't know the rules or if you're not practiced, then you won't do very well. Some people think that they don't want to negotiate at all because it'll make them look too pushy or too demanding. Or they believe that it will make them seem ungrateful for the job offer in the first place. Or they don't want to negotiate because it might label them as a high maintenance prima donna, not a team player. Or they don't want to negotiate because it could make future raises and promotions more difficult to obtain. Or they don't want to negotiate because it might start off the relationship with their boss on a bad note. This is all fiction. This is all mythology. We need to dispel these myths immediately, because for you to make what you earn, you cannot go into the negotiations believing in any of those myths. And that's exactly what they are. They're misconceptions. In fact, any good employer will be disappointed if you don't try to negotiate. After they make you their offer, if you just say, okay, fine, I'll take it, they'll think there's something wrong with you. They'll have second thoughts about why they made you an offer in the first place. They'll think you're a weak business person without savvy business skills. In other words, when you take the job and go work for them, and now you're on their side of the desk, someone comes along and tries to sell you something that's terribly overpriced, are you just going to say, okay, fine, we'll buy it, give me 3,000 of those? They want savvy, shrewd negotiators working for them. This is the time for you to prove that you are a savvy business negotiator. Your value will actually increase in the employer's eyes when you negotiate for your own compensation. Your value does not decrease, it increases. Pretty interesting. So you always want to be prepared, and you always want to dig your well before you're thirsty. It means don't wait for a career crisis to arise before you spring into action, before you polish your skills, before you develop your ability to leverage these strategies. Don't wait. Don't be career complacent. Master these skills now. Develop these skills and these tools now. Get all your documents up to date now. Learn how to integrate this entire system of 10 vital strategies now so that you'll be in top form no matter what happens in your career. Ultimately, it's about maximizing your long-term career success. Ultimately, this is about perpetual career management, which never ends, hence the word perpetual. The only security you have is between your two ears. The only career security you have is in making yourself more marketable, more knowledgeable, more current, more skilled. That's the only security. It's up to you. It's all on you. That may feel like a big burden. That may feel like a whole lot of responsibility, but actually, I think it's liberating. Your fate is no longer in the hands of personnel or human resources or anybody else. The hands are yours. The career is in your hands. More responsibility, yes, but also very liberating because now you and only you can take control. In closing, I do want to offer you something which I mentioned briefly earlier, and that is something right here on your screen. These are additional resources to help you in your search. These are 4 very valuable career bonuses that are free from me and Career Potential. No catch, no strings attached. You'll go to careerbookbonuses.com. You'll be able to see and download examples, templates, forms, all the kinds of things we've been talking about here today. I think that will give you a big leg up and really help you to move forward. So if you want to learn more about me, my services, and my business, go to careerpotential.com. You can also visit fordmyers.com, but mainly careerpotential.com. That's really my primary business website. But to get these bonuses, just simply go to Career Book Bonuses, that's plural, careerbookbonuses.com. So I'll wrap it up now. I want to throw it back to David and see if there are any questions that I can answer. I appreciate your time and your attention. I hope that this was helpful. And David, it's now back to you.
Ford, thank you so much. This was such a treat. Folks, it's an opportunity for you to put your questions in chat. There are a few that are there. Ford, I did also post your contact information in chat. If anyone wants to copy and paste it, you certainly can. And so let me just scroll back to the questions. And actually, it could be as we go along with some of these we realized they were answered as you went into each of the details of the 10 strategies.
Well,
But
if they were already answered, you can skip that one.
well, we'll see. Well, let's see. So this one is from Elitseta. Is there a standard sample template, for example, Word or Excel, to use to keep contact lists and active documents, such as with details like call date, call notes, follow-up action items, callback date, etc.?
Yes, there are some tools that have been developed by experts and programmers, and I could mention that. However, to be honest, what I use with my clients is Excel. I tell them to put all of their contacts into an Excel spreadsheet, and there are columns, obviously. The column headings are last name, first name, employer, title, business email, business phone, personal phone, source, and log. Now, those last two columns, source and log, are of particular interest. Source means, how do I know this person in the first place? What are they doing on my list? So you don't want to look at somebody's name on your list and go, I have no idea who this is. Instead, you want to have a reference point so you remember how you met them or why they're on your list. And the log column, it's like a running log, right? An ongoing history of your contact points with that person. So if you run into them at the supermarket and they say, oh yeah, I just left Comcast and I took a new job at ABC in New York, I'm the head of, well, great. That means you're going to go home, get onto your Excel spreadsheet and type it in because it's a new update about that person. So every conversation, every email, every contact point you have with that person, you're going to enter it into that log so you have a running history. And I hope that helps. Now, one of the tools that I mentioned before, I said that there are software systems you can purchase. One is called Jibber Jobber, Jibber, Jobber, Jobber, Jibber Jobber, I suppose it's .com, jibberjobber.com. It's developed by a guy I know named Jason. I've had him speak at my organizations. It's a good tool. I don't know if it's for everybody, but it's certainly worth checking out.
Thank you, and I just posted the link in chat as well, so people can go grab that. John has a question. Can you give us more detail on how to research the competition?
Well, do you mean people or companies?
And John, if you want to unmute real quick and just ask a little bit more detail about your question.
People in particular.
Okay. So the best way to research people is to know them and know who they are. That means networking. That means being affiliated with all the associations and organizations in your field. It means talking to people, networking, asking questions. Again, you want to know all the players. It also means doing research online. Go to LinkedIn, type in advanced search terms to zero in on the people whose background is similar to yours, or they work in the same niche doing the same type of work. It's an ongoing process. You'll never get to know everything about everyone, but you want to know as much as you can, and those are some tips that might help you.
Thank you. Amitabha has a question. What is the organization you mentioned to curate articles?
To post articles, I mean, to put your articles online.
Okay, yeah, oh, is that what it was? Okay, they thought it was to curate.
So I have a list of those. If you want to email me individually, I will email you the list. Send me a email to contact@careerpotential.com, contact@careerpotential.com, and I will send you back a list of article banks. And what you'll do then is you'll send your articles to these websites, and they'll either like it or not, post it or not. It's free, and it's a great way to get your name and your byline out there.
Okay, thank you. And I did just post that in the email address again in the chat. It was with your other contact information as well.
Thank you, David.
Gary excuse me, Gary has a question. As a career coach, I'm often asked by clients for my advice regarding whether or not they should post their resume on LinkedIn. What is your advice about this?
No, I don't think that makes sense. To me, I don't think that's a good idea. I also don't like that thing where it says, you know, actively looking for a new job or whatever that thing is that they put around their face. I don't believe in that. I think it makes you look desperate because look, everybody's looking for a new opportunity all the time. That's the world we live in. You don't have to announce it. And plus it makes you look like you're unemployed and desperate, and that's not a good message. Remember, the whole point here is to distinguish yourself as an expert and thought leader. Experts and thought leaders don't say, oh, I'm out of work, I really need a job. So, look, the LinkedIn profile already tells all about your background. It already gives your work history and your salient points about your qualifications, your contributions. I don't think it makes sense to add the resume because much of that information is already on the LinkedIn profile, and the resume is a hard sell document. I would just stick with the LinkedIn profile. That's my advice.
Terrific, thank you. And you know, the other thing I was thinking about is LinkedIn tends to be dynamic, where a resume can often be fairly static. While certainly you can set a targeted resume to a prospect. But you can certainly update your LinkedIn social media profile much easier than you can a resume, or you're constantly reposting a resume.
Right.
So that could be a challenge as well. So that seems to be all the questions. I hope I didn't miss any if you forgot to put the word question, but it's all that I see in the chat. So thank you folks for your questions. And Ford, thank you so much. I found this program such a treat. It wasn't just that you had a list of 10 strategies and you listed them. Well, that was your first 2 slides, of course, but each one you went into telling us why it's an important strategy and how to use it.
That's right.
So I think there's such a value to having a presentation like this where you're telling us or showing us and demonstrating how to use what you're presenting instead of, or in addition to just providing that information. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And let me add one comment, okay?
Sure.
Remember the tagline that I mentioned at the beginning, which was back to basics for better results. That's what this is all about. It's back to basics. Remember that these 10 strategies have been proven over decades with my most successful clients. These are the ones who integrated and used the whole thing as a comprehensive system. They didn't pick and choose a couple of strategies that they liked or felt comfortable with. They committed to using all the 10 strategies concurrently in tandem with one another. Very important. So as I said earlier, if you want to learn more, go to careerpotential.com. With that, I'll say goodbye, and I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Ford, I have a question to ask you. I buy always books, people in my business, and a book caught my eye here, and it talks very much, it covers very much subjects that you covered. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this book.
What's it called? My Idea?
It's called Get the Job You Want, Even If No One is Hiring.
That does sound vaguely familiar. Oh yeah, I wrote that. Yes, I do have a book. If you're interested in learning about the book, you can go to the book website, which is getthejobbook.com. Getthejobbook.com. You can learn more about my book, as Alex mentioned. And thank you for saying so, Alex.
It's an outstanding book. It really covers from wall to wall everything. If you happen to fall in transition and you're confused and frustrated and you don't know what to do, this book really has the answers. And the last thing I want to say, and that's I want to reveal a secret to the audience here. You know, all my life, I really wanted to have my first name on cars. Cars that are on the road, I wanted a car called Alex. I was not able to do it, but you were. So I tip my hat to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Alex, very much.
By the way, have you heard this version before?
Yes, sometimes, maybe.
Okay.
Alex, are you saying there's a car called a Meyer?
No.
And by the way, Alex, it's very easy to put your name on a car. There are these little tags that go in the front and the back, and you can put your name on the car that way.
I get it.
I will never reach the reputation of Fords.
Yep, sure.
Ford,
So, what's that, John?
That's only in some states it's on front and back.
That's
Like-
true. Anyway, folks, as we wrap up, just want to thank Ford once again. This was very special. And, you know, some of the strategies, all of them are important, but some of them really help you differentiate yourself from other candidates as well. So it's not just strategies for being more efficient and effective, but really to help you stand out. One that comes to mind was, I think it's number 4, that you write and that you present. And Ford said, you know, companies don't want just candidates, they want thought leaders. And here's a way for you to stand out among your competition by writing or by being a presenter and getting your name out that way. And another way you can promote it is with your website, if that's something you're able to do. I'm a fan, being a tech person, of everyone having a professional website as well. So there was some really good advice here, and thank you so much again.
Thank you. I'll say goodbye. Have a great day, everybody.
Yep, thank you. Yep, bye-bye. And folks, also, you know, Ford mentioned having a targeted list, if that's important for you as well. And I think it's going to be important, obviously, for everybody. But you can use the PSG of Mercer County website. Right on the top, there's a link, there's a menu item called Open Jobs. And in there, we have a list of 7 counties. It's Mercer and the 6 border counties. And when you click in each of those, you can drill down and find in each of those counties companies that potentially hire in those counties. So you can create a targeted list from those companies, and you can further click and go to their career pages. So another thing you can use our job page for is to create that targeted list. And other things that are coming up over the next couple of weeks right here. Next week will be September 24th, and we are pleased to welcome back Bill LaChance with one of his partners, Sean Lavison. They're going to be talking about money-saving strategies during a career transition, health insurance, taxes, etc. So this is not a financial planning discussion and wealth management and all that kind of stuff, but money-saving strategies during a career transition. And so, and I guess all through your financial life as well. So you may want to come next week, September 24th, to hear that program. October 1st, the following week, Deborah Wheatman will be back. We're so pleased to be able to invite Deborah Wheatman back because she presents from Florida, the Delray Beach area, and she normally could not present to us, but with presenting virtually she can. And she'll be talking about promotional branding. Real important topic. What do people think about you or know about you? And so she'll talk about personal branding. Also, next Saturday, tomorrow morning, the 17th, at 7 o'clock in the morning, the Career Support Group. Terrence Seaman will be presenting the 4 Ds of Career Reinvention. Terry is a wonderful presenter, and he's a coach as well. He leads a group for job seekers. He's very active in career support, the 4 Ds of Career Reinvention. CareerSupportGroup.org, CareerSupportGroup.org. Just go to the website to get the Zoom link. Otherwise, no registrations required. 8:30 in the morning tomorrow. And then also Monday mornings, PSG of Central New Jersey, Mondays at 10:30, psgcnj.biz. Go check them out. And PSG of Morris County meets Wednesdays at 9:30 in the morning, and they actually open up their call a little bit early for open discussion, psgmc.org. And Tuesday evenings is the New Jersey Job Seekers, the oldest continuously running job seeker support group, and they meet Tuesday at 7:30 in the evening, and the connection info is in the LinkedIn group of PSG of Mercer County. And once again, I do invite you to join our PSG of Mercer County group. So once again, special thanks to Ford. I believe he has stepped away. He had other things this morning. No worries. Remember, in just a moment, while we will end the recorded version of this presentation, we're going to keep the session open for us to have an open discussion as we'd like for just a little while longer. So, but in the meantime, if you need to bow out, I will simply say, bye, everybody.